Okay, let's get started. Hey guys, I'm popping in real quick. We're going to be doing a sunflower painting. I've got a few sunflowers here. I usually have someone film these classes for me, but with what's going on now with everybody kind of being isolated at home, I am doing it myself. So I have everything set up and we are going to get started. And today, again, like I said, we're going to do a sunflower painting. I'm going to make this a pretty quick class. As always, you can go ahead and pause and take breaks as you will and have fun with it. I just actually did one just a few minutes ago. I did this sunflower painting, and I've got a couple others that I've done in the past. See how these are kind of big. What I'm going to do with this class, I'm going to use a fairly limited color palette. I've squirted most of the paints out. I've got them all here. So you're aware, these are the colors. I just did one now, so you can see they're a little bit messy, but that's okay. I have got right here this red ochre right here. I've got this mustardy yellow, taxi cab yellow. So I've got both the mustard and the taxi cab yellow. And then I have this bright blue, I have a little white, and I have black. So make sure you have your supplies. So you want yellow, you want red, you want black, you want brown. And when I say red, I mean this sort of a color, and a little white and blue. So these guys. And these guys, okay? I already have them all the paint squirted out for us, so we don't need to go back to that. So here you go. These are the colors, all right? Excuse the mess behind me. I'm working on a commission, and I figured we would just give this a shot. So I have a blank canvas here. I have already started to work on this canvas. You notice there's a light blue wash on it. I'm going to go ahead and do that again for you guys so that you can see what that's all about. And let me get this one open. So I am using 8x10 canvases. That's a good small canvas so it doesn't take too long to complete, so you feel like you got something started and done. All right, so I'm going to take the camera over here and bring y'all down here so that you can see what we're doing, okay? So what I did to do this blue wash, I used this brush right here. It's a kind of a fat brush, and I really make sure I have plenty of water on it. I'm not going to go through that today, but what you want to do is dip it into the blue paint. Well, actually, I'll go ahead and just dip it in. You want to make sure it's kind of runny. So it's almost, think of it, this is all acrylic paints, remember? You just want to cover the canvas so that it's got that blue tone on it, okay? You just want to just tone the canvas. These are acrylic paints, so we are using acrylics. I'm just going to go ahead and pick this up. Just cover the whole canvas. You don't have to worry about directions or any way it's going, that sort of thing. Just go ahead and cover it. All right, so we're just going to cover the whole thing. See how I'm kind of almost like scribbling it on? And think of this as just a way to loosen up and get ready, okay? Just get ready for it. So see how wiggly and squiggly it is? That's fine. So now what I want to do is I'm going to take my rag here and I'm going to just tap off, you can kind of hear how I'm doing it, tap off some of that extra paint, okay? So it's like this, okay? So you got that. So you tapped off that extra paint. And again, if that takes you a little bit longer, not to worry. Just stop the recording and take your time and do that. Like I said, I just wanted to get this video so that you could see how to do a sunflower painting. And The one I did, let's just bring a couple of these down so you can see them. Here's another one I did. So you can see they're all totally different. One's got a really, really big one right here. I kind of think this version, I kind of like the really huge one. So I'm going to be working with these brushes. We just worked with this big brush, so if you're getting your supplies, you want to get this one, and you want to get the one that's kind of got that edge, and then a few different sizes of the little ones. They don't have to be too little. And again, you could do this entire painting with one brush. And if you did decide to do it with one brush, this one's probably the easiest one to work with. So really, I'm going to use different brushes as I go, but you don't have to use all the different brushes I tell you. You can just pick one and run with it. So the first thing I'm going to do is use my smaller brush. I'm going to dip it into the black, and I'm going to figure out where these seed pods are going to go here, okay? So you've got one seed pod here. You've got one down here. Oops. See how I made this little pod right like that? Okay. And then I'm going to put one right here. So you've got three. It almost looks like a little polar bear, doesn't it? See, because he's got like little eyes and that's his little nose down here. I know, I'm crazy. All right, so fill this in, just this little bit down in here, okay? I'm actually going to probably use a little bit bigger brush. You don't want to make these seed pods too big. Okay. You just, whoops, just cover that over. We're going to end up making that one big since my paintbrush went a little wacky there. But that's okay. Now he's going to be the big flower. See how what happens is if you make a little mistake like that, like I just did, like my paintbrush went like that, that's all right. Then we just redirect and we're like, okay, instead of this one being the huge one, this guy is going to be the big one. See how there's a difference there? Every single painting comes out differently. So if you find that you're like, oh great, my paint went wrong, and you know, don't worry about it. Just go over it. So you figure out this one's going to be the big one, right? And so I'm going to get a little bit more water on it, and that's going to be a pod, and that's going to be a pod. So there's my pods, okay? So that's where we're establishing where the seeds are going to be. So now we're going to take this brush, this little angled brush, and I'm going to dip it into the mustardy color yellow, okay? So dip it into the mustard. That's this one right here, okay? Just want to make sure y'all can hear me. And I'm going to have you do lines. Let's see here. You're going to take the brush and you're going to go out. See, remember I decided this guy's going to be a big flower, so those lines have to go really big, okay? It's going to go all the way out there. This is going to go here, all the way out here. So see, you're almost kind of creating like a little bit of a circle. So this line's not going to go way out here. It's going to go a little lower than the next one. And this one's going to come here. So see how they're just lines. So don't even think about them as being petals. Think about them as being lines. And then that's going to come out here, here, here. Think of it as like a pinwheel. And if you put it into the center and then drag it out, that's what you want to do. Again, I haven't rinsed my brush out. I'm just going to take this and dip it right into the mustard color again. And now I'm going to make some lines on this guy. This one's going to be a little bit smaller, this right here. So in the end, you see what looks like little pinwheels, right? So now I'm going to rinse my brush because I ended up getting a little bit of black on it. And make sure I dry it off. And now I'm going to pick up just a little bit of the yellow. So I'm going to take yellow, I'm going to take the mustard, and it's both loaded on my brush, okay? And we're going to make the letter C, okay? I call it a C. So you're going to take a C, and you're going to take the brush, make a little C, and make it a point. See how I kind of wrapped it? I'm going to start from the top, and then go to the bottom. See how I made that? So now I'm going to take this one, go to the top. So you're starting at the bottom and connecting it at the top, just like that. Okay, so start at the bottom, connect at the top, start at the bottom, and see it kind of just goes right off the page. And see how it goes off the page? You can, right now, just kind of put on a little yellow right there, so you know that's where the edge of the petal goes, right? Okay, so I'm going to dip back into those yellows, and I'm going to continue to make the C's all the way around. Okay, so see how it's starting to look like a flower already? See how quick that was? Super quick. So I'm just going to keep the brush going into the yellow, both yellows, the bright yellow and the dark yellow, and bring it down, bring it up, bring it down, bring it up. And again, remember, you can pause the video so that you can take some time. You don't have to rush. Remember, I've done this 1,000 times. And like anything, painting's the same thing, it's just practice. There's nothing mysterious about painting. You just practice, right? Just with anything. If you're an accountant, you have to practice those numbers. You have to practice all the different formulas. And this is the same thing, you just have to practice. And the thing is, when you're working on painting, you want to be relaxed and having fun. Okay, so we're going to make just a little guy right here. Just a little one. And if you notice, I have 3 flowers. And there's something about having odd numbers that makes things really interesting to look at. Because if I had a 4th flower, I just don't know if it would be as pretty. There's something about, I think it's Feng Shui that says the odd numbers of things make things look better. So we're going to lay that down, and now so that make sure you can see it. I'm going to keep going back into the bright yellow and the dark yellow, and now I want you to fill in all those petals. Just go ahead and fill them in. So right on the inside, fill them all in. You might need to dip back into that color. So I'm just going back and forth. And when I say back and forth, really the brush strokes should start from the center and work your way out and up and lift your brush off the page, okay? So keep going. Keep filling in. So start from the bottom, go to the top. Okay? Then fill in all those little gaps. If you see a little gap in there, just go ahead and fill it in. Okay? So we're getting there. Just keep on going with the light yellow and the dark yellow. Fill in, fill in. Okay, just keep filling in. See how it's starting to look already? Pretty cool, huh? Now if you notice, I'm going to tip it right side up. If you notice there's like little gaps in there, and then this guy needs a little extra. And if you notice there's starting to be some highlights, because remember that very first line we put in? That's still there. And that gives it a little bit of dimension. I think it does. So we're going to kind of look at this. And if you notice there's these little seed pods. This one's pretty big, so that one's okay, but we can go ahead and, what I say, reestablish those seed pods and make them a little bit bigger. But we're going to do that later. We're not going to do that right now. What I want you to do is start highlighting a little bit more. So now I want you to get your brush. Again, we're still working with this angled brush. Get some white, if you have it, some white, and some of that brighter yellow. And if you don't have a bright yellow, you can use the mustardy colored yellow and just add a little white to it, because the bottom line is you want it a little lighter. So what we're going to do is highlight the leaves, or the petals. See how I just did it on one side, just on one side, okay? So now we're going to go on one side, one side, one side. I'm trying to make it really bright so you can see how defined it is. So you go on one side, okay? One side, one side, one side, one side. Got it? See, now it's starting to kind of pop off the page, right? Cool, huh? Now, I'm just going to paint for a second while you watch, and you can work on your own. And I'm going to be filling in some of these flowers so that they look a little bit fluffier. Some of these look a little bit fluffier, so I want these to look just as fluffy. So I'm going to fill those in while you're working. Okay, so I filled these in just a little bit. Now let's go and put a little bit more of the seed pods in. So we're going to get this brush, one of these little round guys, and I want you to dip it into that reddish color. It's technically called red oxide, and what we're going to do is we're going to add a little of that red oxide to the edges of these little pods here, just to give it a little bit of color. All right, so you want to start just on the outer edge. Right in there. See how that really just kind of lifts it? I think it does. It makes it just a little bit prettier. And what I'm going to tell you is try to do on one side. Like this guy, we did the whole part red. This part back here, we only did half. So, and down here on this pod, we only want to do half as well. And you can bring it up into the petals to make it a little bit bigger. And now I want you to dip into the black, okay? So now you got black right on top of that reddish color. And I want you to tap in some more black. See? Go all the way around. And here you can kind of add that seed pod down here. Pick up a little bit of red. See how I'm going to bring the edge of that to the side of the painting. So I'm going to put a little bit of yellow. See? We just added that little bit of yellow. So now that the flower just kind of wraps around, it looks kind of cool. And you can do that all the way around, okay? So just make sure you do that so that when you hang it, you can, it doesn't look as pretty this way, but when you start adding it to the edge, it kind of looks more 3D like that. Woo, woo, woo. All right. All right, so now I'm going to have you get a little bit of white. Again, I'm not changing brushes. We're just using the same brush. Saying hello there. I know you can't see me while I'm painting, so I just want to pop in and say hi. Okay, so we're going to add a little white. Just a little highlight. I probably put too much on there, so I'm going to pick up a little bit more black. So it almost looks almost like a gray, but I just want a little highlight just at the edges. And those are supposed to be little seeds. because really sunflowers have seeds, right? So you want it to go up into the petals. So you can see that detail. See that? How that works? And see down here, you're going to want to make that black. Okay. So now I tend to think you could leave it just like this with this blue, or you could add a little bit more blue like this one back here has. And I have this really pretty blue, this one. I'm just going to go ahead and use that same brush. Of course, I rinsed it out. And we're going to stipple. We've done this before. We've got it just loaded on the brush right there, see? And I'm just going to tap it into the canvas. I'm starting in the center of the canvas, and I'm just going to kind of work all the way around. And I'm going to put a little bit of water on this, and you can, what I call this my neurotic brush stroke, right? Watch this. That's my neurotic brush stroke. It's like, woo, it's going all over the place, right? So it's kind of woo, wiggling all over the place. You can do that, or you can tap it in, called stippling, right? So you can use either brush stroke, whichever one works. But the cool thing is that I want it to be more textured looking, not so rigid. I want it to look fun, because if you think about it, these lines, they're not rigid, but there's more of a flow to them. So you want to have a bit of difference between this more hard line with this more whimsical sort of feel, right? And frankly, it's supposed to be like the clouds in the background anyways. So the clouds are going every which way, so you want to make sure that your painting style is going every which way in terms of meaning you want a little bit of movement is what I'm getting at. So what I just did while I was talking is I added a little bit of white, and I'm going to add just a tiny bit of blue on top of that, so it's blue and white, because I've noticed it's a little bit too heavy right in here. So I'm just going to kind of mix it up. Just go tap all over. And I actually don't mind that it's a little darker in here and then it fades out here. Let's see if we can get a good view. That doesn't bother me. I kind of like that. Okay, you can kind of smooth it a little bit. So now, once you've done that, a good idea would be one of your final sort of strokes, I think, would be to go back over those yellow petals, just so that you don't have the blue coming in. So I would pick up a little white and both yellows on your brush. So both yellows and a little white. And again, remember, if you're taking this and you're getting a little stressed because it's going way too fast and you need a break, take a break. Pause the video, breathe, right? Today is going to be a beautiful day. It could be raining today, it doesn't matter, just go have fun. Go stomp in puddles, or go breathe in the sunshine and have some fresh air. Come back to it. So you don't have to finish it all in one spot, okay? That's my little tip right now. Back to it. Okay, so I'm gonna now reestablish these petals. I'm gonna go over it just a little bit. And if you feel like it needs a little bit more bright yellow, add a little bit more bright yellow to it. And if you guys are using Liquitex, the nice kind of brand of paint, let's see, do I have one here? Yes. Liquitex, we're not using this color, but Liquitex is a great brand. It's heavy body. When you go to use a brush stroke like I just did, going over this yellow, if you have a thick based paint, it'll go right over it. But if you have something that's a little bit more of a hue, like this Artist Loft, it's not as thick a paint. Not that it's a bad paint, it just doesn't have the big, the depth as the Liquitex does. So when you go over these petals, the blue might bleed through a little bit, which is okay. Just pick up a little bit of white, because that white will knock it out, okay? That white will just kind of knock that right back out. So then you have that fresh, crisp line, right? We always want that. So with anything, anytime I paint, I could go on and on and on, or I could leave it right here. So what I'm going to do, I've got so many, I'm going to leave those in here. Now, here's a little thing. When you rinse your brushes out, always make sure you really, 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 really rinse them, and then get all that extra paint off and make sure they're clean. You don't want to have squeeze it and have any paint in there because you're going to ruin your brushes. If you notice, gosh, the brushes I have, they're pretty much a disaster because I use them so much. But that's okay, as long as you keep this part clean and the bottom part clean, this part doesn't really matter, okay? So here's sunflower painting. Here's a bunch of other ones that I did. Got my rag there, you can't see it. But if you can see, they all came out totally differently. I'm going to bring the camera back over here. Here we are. So we did a really quick sunflower painting, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to be getting back to this commission behind me, and I want to see your paintings. And if you have any questions, you need any help with any of these paintings that I do, let me know. Go on the Facebook page, whatever. Tell your friends about the group. I want more people to join us. And our next class, we are going to be doing a landscape class painting. And I'm going to go through making little fences and stuff like that. We're going to talk about a little bit of dimension and distance and trying to put things in the foreground. So we'll learn a little bit about that and just really have some fun, right? I hope you had a great time, and I will see you next time, because as we all know, it's not just art, it's an experience. All right, take care, guys. Have a wonderful day.